Hiya, Martin here. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of my wood turning projects for beginners series. Today we're going to be looking back to when I first started turning, and I turned this piece. This is a gardener's dibber and is the very first piece of wood turning that I ever did, and it is this very piece that got me hooked on wood turning and sent me on the huge learning curve and amazing creative journey that I have been on ever since. So today, in the first turning video of the series, I'm going to turn this little gardener's dibber from a piece of sycamore. Well, it took about 20 minutes, I suppose, all in all. Really lovely little project. Thoroughly enjoyed going back to my basics and my roots, as it were. And I'll show you how to do it in this video using a roughing gouge, a spindle gouge, and optionally one of the parting tools, either the thin parting tool or the diamond tipped parting tool for the decoration. You'll also need a hammer, some 80 grit sandpaper and some 150 grit sandpaper. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the video. If you enjoy it, then please do like, share and subscribe, and if you feel so inclined, then please do leave a comment. I always reply to comments wherever I possibly can. Then drop me an email, head over to the website and you can send me an email with a picture of the dibber that you have turned. Well, enjoy the video. If you've got any queries, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching, and here is the gardener's dibber. Okay, so we've already seen the gardener's dibber. That was the first piece that I ever turned. It's made from spalted beech and it's a really nice shape. And so we're going to make something a little bit similar today. And here is a blank of sycamore. You can use any wood that you want to. It really doesn't matter for a gardener's dibber. And we're going to turn this whole thing between centres, which means you've got the drive centre that sits in there, and then the live centre on the tailstock, like so. First of all, though, we need to find the centre of the blank on both ends, and to do that, I'm going to use a centre finder on one end and using the widest part of the centre finder, put it into the corner and then just draw a line across the middle, turn it round and do all 4 corners, and there we can see the centre is going to be in there somewhere. Now on this end I'm going to find the centre slightly differently, and by holding the pencil like that, find roughly the middle and go round each side like so. And you can see by doing it like that it's not quite as accurate, or at least I can't get it as accurate as that, which is why I prefer to use the centre finder. So somewhere about there is the centre for the tailstock, and the centre for the headstock is about there. Now take your drive centre. I'm just using a 4-pronged drive centre, which is pretty much the same drive centre that I've used ever since I started turning. Find the centre like that, and then what I do is I get a hammer. A rubber mallet would be better than a metal one. Give it a little tap and you're ready to go. End. Place the drive centre into the spindle on the headstock, bring up the tailstock, lock it down, give it a little spin, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm just giving it a spin to make sure that it's turning nice and square and it's not too wobbly, if you know what I mean. So that's good for that. Wind in the tailstock so it's nice and tight, lock it down and bring up your tool rest. And the shape we're going to go for is similar to this one. It's a little bit shorter, and we're going to have a shape that's something Oops. Like, yeah, something like that. I can't draw, but we're going to have a handle on the left hand end here, and the actual dibbery bit on the right hand end, and that's roughly how it's going to look. It's not. I'm not an artist, certainly not in the drawing sense of the word. So we're going to take our roughing gouge, make sure that it's nice and sharp, and make sure that our tool rest is just a smidge below the centre line of the lathe. And then put on your face shield, and then to start with I'm just going to hold the flute of the gouge ever so slightly open and just nibble away at the corners as the piece is spinning. Now I want the piece running fairly quickly in the lathe. That's going to be about 1,000 odd RPM. I haven't got a rev counter on this particular lathe. When you think you've got the piece round, if you rest the tool on top of the wood, you can feel if it's round, if there are no vibrations. The piece is now nice and round in the lathe. That's good, I'm happy with that. And I need to move the tool rest in slightly because the distance between the tool rest and the piece is really important. But the further the distance, the less control you have of the tool. By moving it in slightly, you get better tool control, and it feels more comfortable as well. Now what we're going to do, I need to taper off. I need to kind of work out where I want the various parts. So we need to round off at the top, and then about there-ish for the handle, and then tapering down to sort of a finish tip down here. And most of that we can do with the roughing gouge. Certainly the tapering bit here, and a rough shape here and a rough shape there. And then if we need to, we can use a spindle gouge to hone the curves off if we need to. So there's the basic shape of our dibber. Next, what I'm going to do is take the taper down to about there, as thin as I can go, and also start making a curve in up here somewhere, probably about there. And for that I'm going to use the spindle gouge, and then we'll add a little bit of detail, much like the same on the first one. So So now we've got our shape of our dibber. I'm really pleased with that. I've gone as thin as I can on both ends, which will make the finishing of the piece a little bit easier. It's fairly rough cut, which is absolutely fine for a project like this, because it's not really a decorative item, it's much more of a practical gardener's item. And I've got a piece of 80 grit paper, which I'm going to use just to smooth everything over a bit, and then I'll use some 150 just to smooth it over just a little bit more. And when you're finishing, turn the lathe down a bit. You don't need the lathe spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, and that'll be enough. There'll be enough sanding for this project. Now I need to put the tool rest back in, and we're going to add just a little bit of decoration into the piece. For this I'm going to use the thin parting tool, which I recommended in part 1 of this beginners project series. And all we're going to do is make 3 little lines, one here, one here, and one here, plus one there and one at the top, about there. And I think that's all the decoration that I would want on something as simple as this. So get the lathe speed running back up again. Make sure the tool rest is about on the centre line or just below. Then you can take your 150 paper again and just smooth off any tear out that happened with the tool. And that feels really nice. Now if you want to, you can apply some oil onto the wood, which I think we'll do. We'll just use a bit of Danish oil. A little bit of Danish oil like that, that's all it needs. It doesn't even need any oil because it's going to be a very, very practical item. So Danish oil or any kind of finish isn't really necessary. That's nice, that's a nice little project. And then I can take it out of the centres, snap off the ends, round over the top with the 80 grit, and then just smooth off the bottom as well. It doesn't have to be a point, just neatly rounded so it can dib into the soil in the plant pot, and then just finish that off with the 150 both ends. And then when you've done your sanding, you can just rub in some oil off the towel on the handle end and the pointy end. And there we are, there's the project all finished. Very nice little gardener's dibber, and it was an absolute treat to go back to my roots, as it were, and turn the first gardener's dibber that I have done since I turned my very first one. Really nice little project, very, very simple, very basic, very quick. thank you very much indeed for watching. If you've been inspired to have a go at turning a gardener's dibber, then please do drop me a line, send me a picture of what you've turned, and I will feature it in a future video and also on my blog. So thanks very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you again next week for another beginner's project. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.